Don't miss Trump next time.
Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. This is an important video revolving around Jack Black. And this is the seesaw that I've talked about. For years, we have seen conservatives and Republicans censored online. I talked about how eventually these people who are calling to cancel people like me, people like you, we're gonna feel it too, because it's not about censoring a specific opinion as much as it's about censoring free speech. And this is about the government's control over you questioning the news and questioning what's real and what's not. Because once people figure out that all of these events that are happening in the news are actually staged by the government, there would be a mass awakening that would occur, which would it would take away the power that the government has, so to speak. And I call this the seesaw effect. Some call it the pendulum swing. You can call it whatever you want. But what it is the beginning of mass censorship of all civilians. And Jack Black is playing his role in all of this. And if you start understanding how the human brain works, right? You have to look at the brain. Nobody even thinks about the brain. They just go about their day. They don't think about influence or anything like that. That's part of the American experiment, so to speak, is that they want you to think that everything you're doing is being done freely. But you have to start looking at the brain the same way you look at a computer, right? The computer is programmed, computer programming. They program your brain. And one of the things they've been working very heavily on doing now is behavioral control. This is, again, is the shift into global communism, behavioral control. And what you're seeing is people responding to pre-programming. They've already been programmed into what's politically correct, what they can and cannot say, instead of the old adage of sticks and stones may break my bones, and not caring about what other people say. So Jack Black has canceled his tour after his bandmate commented that he hopes next time that there's an attempt on Donald Trump's life that the bullet doesn't miss. And this is the narrative we're starting to see, where Democrats, which this shouldn't surprise anybody. People have been wishing death upon Trump for a while, right? Snoop Dogg in his video, Kathy Griffin showing you these decapitated heads of Trump. So why all of a sudden is it a problem to say that you want Donald Trump dead? Well, of course, this is about controlling your behavior, what you can and cannot say. So all those things people are forgetting about, people don't seem to care then, because now that someone has actually, supposedly, of course, taken an attempt on Donald Trump's life, well, now you can't crack jokes about things like that. This is behavioral control 101, and they're using Jack Black. So Jack Black recently has been rolled out talking about Biden. He's been promoting Joe Biden's campaign. Jack Black is an admitted Satanist. We've seen Jack Black. I've exposed him many times. Videos are available on the website showing you the Baphomet on his shirt, the devil horns. Jack Black's a very easy one to see. They all are, if you actually pay attention. Here's Jack Black talking about selling his soul and how he became famous. And of course, you're supposed to laugh at this notion of selling your soul and being a Satanist is the only reason you're famous in Hollywood. You're supposed to laugh at this, but really, this is what they do. They reveal themselves through cracking jokes about the truth. And Jack Black is only famous, just like all these people are only famous, because they're in this cabal together, this satanic cabal. And they want you to think that they're there because they're talented and they're better than you are, and that's not the truth at all. They're actually there because they're Satanists. They're all Satanists. Listen to this quote.
Song is about saving souls from demons or something,
Yeah.
as I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Now, what was?
Well, you know, there's a rich history of the devil in rock and roll. It goes all the way back to, like, Elvis was everyone said, he's playing the devil's music. What was that great song, The Devil Went Down to Joe?
Oh, Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels, he had some devil in there, and it goes even back to, before that, it was Robert Johnson.
Right.
You can find his roots, way back to the beginning of rock. And so, had we sold our soul to the devil? How else can you explain us being here on the channel?
Yeah.
Had we sold our soul to the devil? How else can you explain us being here on the channel?
Okay, so what I'm getting at in talking about Jack Black is that they've asked this Satanist to now cancel himself. Because just like the right was canceled, now the left is being canceled. And what you're supposed to do when you're canceled is you're supposed to bow down and cancel yourself, right? In reality, what you should do is what I've set an example of, is you should just continue fighting back and saying how you feel, no matter how many times somebody tries to cancel you. But it's behavioral control. So they want you to watch how this plays out and then copy the behavior, right? So we see when liberal media goes after conservatives, what do they end up doing? Apologizing for what they say, changing how they speak. And this makes you afraid to actually speak your mind, say how you really feel. This is being done by design. Now we're seeing this shift towards Democrats. So Jack Black deliberately, of course, canceled his tour because he's ashamed of the behavior. He's ashamed that somebody would say, or even crack a joke. You can look at it from different perspective, right? The guy, and I'll show you the clip in a second here, talking about how next time he wishes and hopes that the bullet doesn't miss. Who cares if the guy says that? Why does anybody care, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones. Not to mention the fact that nobody even knows Donald Trump, these people who worship the ground that he walks on, right? This is about manipulating speech, manipulating thoughts, and then people eventually following suit and controlling and monitoring what they say, being afraid to say what's really on their mind. You can see all of these puppets in the alt-right media, the shift, right? These are all the guys who over the years have been talking about cancel culture. We shouldn't be canceling anything. And now that this attempt has happened, you're watching the alt-right media, all of these guys, the Rubin Report, Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, what do they say? They're saying their jaws are dropping as leftists gives opinions on assassination. But before this event on Saturday, all of the Democrats, all of the leftists have been openly admitting and saying that they want Donald Trump dead. In fact, like I said, Kathy Griffin and all these other people out there have shown decapitated heads of Donald Trump. And now all of a sudden, of course, they have the right to say that these people should be canceled, and these people will follow suit and cancel themselves. This is about behavioral control. Listen to Larry Fink again if you don't remember.
Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. What we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay? You have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. Behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
Okay, Larry Fink of BlackRock, Vanguard, they own all the media. We all know this. They're the ones, when they tell you behavioral control, everybody thinks that they're going to knock on your door and they're going to say, you know, they're influencing you on what you can and cannot say. And people out there are looking at this, and they're suddenly, the people out there who were screaming about censorship are now asking for censorship. And they're like, well, that's not really censorship. They shouldn't be able to crack jokes about an assassination attempt. Oh, okay. Right. And then that shifts into what? What you can and cannot say about what? The Republican Party, right? What you cannot say about Donald Trump's anybody. It starts and then it spreads, right? It starts with one thing. You can't say this, right? This specific word. Then it spreads. Look at what hate speech is now and how far this has shifted and what you can and cannot say. That's the goal here. That's why the left and right cannot fall into this. Listen to Fox News, okay, crying about some of this stuff that's going on in the media, where the liberal media is talking about, oh, they're making fun of Trump's bondage on his ear. Oh, they shouldn't be able to crack jokes about that. Oh, I mean, they don't have a human element to them because this man was almost killed, and they're cracking, you know, they're not taking it seriously enough for the conservatives now. And all the conservatives out there, if you read the comments, they're loving it and they're agreeing with it. And they're saying they should be censored. This is how it works. And all these idiots don't realize that they're playing right into the government's hand.
How the New York Times put it. On the first night of this convention, Trump was his own biggest prop. He entered the VIP box, a large white bandage on his injured right ear, an image for political mobilization, a spectacle for this candidate who we know is, by his own admission, obsessed with assorted spectacles.
So, Joe, the ear bandage was a spectacle. I don't know. I'm reviewing my notes right now. I think it was because he was shot in the ear and he needed a bandage. It's medical.
You hear the way Ari Melber put that? His injured right ear. Injured, to your point. A bullet went through the ear. And he's wearing a bandage because he lost part of the ear. We are 3 days since this man nearly got his head blown off, only because he turned his head a little bit more to read some notes that were given to him on a screen around immigration. Is he alive right now? And MSNBC, as sick as they are, and Ari Melber, as sick as he is, go to hell, Ari Melber, quite frankly, because to say something like that, it's a prop? Give me a break. Show any sort of human dignity in this moment, and he couldn't do that, as could many on that network, quite frankly.
If I could just interject for a second, what I noticed, and look, we're going to beat up the Democrats for their response to a lot of stuff, but I felt at least the politicians, by and large, had decent responses to the attempted assassination of Trump. I found the media, whether it was Stephanopoulos and Raditz or all of MSNBC.
Yeah.
I mean, look what MSNBC was so scared of what Scarborough and Mika would do. They kept them off the air.
Yeah.
Who are these people? How have they gotten to this point where they're not even acting in any humanity anymore?
We all know who Jack Black is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's got a band. It's called Tenacious D. His bandmate's name is Kyle Gass. Take a listen to what he just said.
Okay.
Don't miss Trump next time.
He said, don't miss next time. After he said that, he was axed by his talent agency. Jack Black also released a statement saying, I no longer feel it is appropriate to continue the Tenacious D tour, and all future creative plans are on hold. I'm grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. Your thoughts?
Good for Jack Black. I mean, he had to do that. Maybe if there wasn't such blowback, Jack Black's people wouldn't tell him you can't be associated with this anymore. But either way, ultimately, he did the right thing. Todd?
There is always one.
Quick question, though. Is this a change? 4 years ago, would this have happened? Would he have so quickly denounced Kyle Gass, his bandmate?
No, definitely not. In the light of this assassination, in the light of everything that we've seen over the last 4 years.
Things have changed.
It's about time to see things have changed.
Well, you
There's
have
a human
a
element to this now.
busy.
So it's incredible. Right now, it's not human for them to crack a joke. It's not. But for months and years, the media has been trying to throw him in jail, supposedly. They've been trying. I mean, they don't realize that they're doing the same thing, the common person, but the media knows what they're doing. The media is now trying to influence your behavior on the conservative side after getting you so used to being censored yourself to censor the other side. It's called canceling each other out. Cancel culture, all these things. All people should be doing is saying, you know what, if the guy wants to crack a joke about not missing next time, let it. Who cares what this loser says? Who cares what that loser says? Who cares what anybody really says, right? But the government is the one who ultimately cares. Because when people figure out that they're getting played, you're not going to be able to say anything anymore because it's all going to be canceled out. And people are not going to be able, Democrats don't realize they all talk about Trump being a fascist and all the MAGA being fascist. Okay, fine. Even though it's really dual communism, let them say it's fascist. Do they want it so that they're not able to question Donald Trump or question conservatives? Because that's what all of their cancel culture has led to. That's what I've warned about. And now you're seeing it. And what do we do about it? We need to remove this mindset from people, this cancel culture mindset, and all the free speech that's been taken away from people like me over the years. This is what I warned about. I didn't warn about it because I cared so much about me and having to make channels and do all this other stuff. Because this is what our future looks like, a future where you can't question the government. And the government's only going to get more tyrannical, right? Here's Jack Black. And this just shows you how fake all this stuff is, right? Jack Black, I was blinded by what was said at the show on Sunday. I would never condone hate speech or encourage political violence in any form. So the guy just said what? He said, I hope next time they don't miss. That's hate speech now? What? This whole notion of hate speech, I've warned about how it can go from the N-word to what it is now, right? The government's been gaslighting black people with the N-word for this reason. They don't care about black people, just like they don't care about gay people with the word that starts with F and ends with G. They've been conditioning you into censoring speech. And now, like I've said, it starts with one thing and then it spreads. Now hate speech is a guy on stage saying that he hopes next time they don't miss. That's hate speech? I mean, political violence in any form? These are words that are being spoken. Political violence would be the act of attempting to do something violent to someone in the name of politics or how they feel politically, not words. So Jack Black goes on to say, after much reflection, I no longer feel it's appropriate to continue the tour. All future creative plans are on hold. I'm grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. So he's putting this whole thing on pause, his whole charade of a, concert tour that nobody's going to see anyway. Because what he's really trying to do is get you to change your behavior. This is what when they talk about behavioral control, this is what they mean. This right here. Because people see this and they're influenced. So the next time they want to tweet something about Donald Trump and say something along the lines of, oh, good, I wish it happened, they're going to hesitate to do it. Why are they going to hesitate to do it? Because they're being programmed that it's offensive, that it's hateful, that they could be canceled, that they might go to jail. This is a communist society. This is what we're dealing with. And now we have these conservative MAGA who are supposedly patriots asking for this and saying, well, that's not free speech saying that against Trump. Yes, it is free speech. You taking it so seriously and being upset about it Doesn't matter at all. You should be shrugging it off. But they don't realize that now they're calling on censorship of speech. And everybody should be realizing this and coming together and saying, who is doing this? The media is doing this. The media and the government working together to tweak your behaviors and then put laws in place so that you can't talk about certain topics. And now the Democrats are feeling it. And now should be a mass awakening for them when it comes to cancel culture and them saying, you know what, fine, I made the mistake. I cancel people. Okay, learn from the mistake and let's remove this now. Let's remove this because guess what? If Trump gets put into power, you're not going to be able to question Donald Trump because you're canceling all this stuff you've done over the years of canceling other people because you didn't like their opinion, specifically someone like me who isn't even MAGA, who isn't even a conservative or a Republican. They've been canceling because they don't like what you say. Instead of dealing with what people say and saying, you know what, I'll just turn it off. I don't like what this guy says. I'll shut it off. Now they're going to get this pushed down their throats where MAGA is going to see to it that you're removed from social media. You're removed from these platforms if you're saying that you're okay with quote unquote hate speech, political violence for just saying something along the lines of, oh yeah, I wish it happened. When this is exactly what these people are thinking and they should be allowed to feel that way and say whatever they want to say. It's free speech for a reason. It's not, well, it's free speech up until this point where it's dangerous. Speech is not dangerous. That's the point. It's speech. And you should have thick enough skin to hear someone talk and say, all right, I disagree with this guy. All right, this shouldn't be allowed to be said. But they're convincing you that free speech can lead to violence. That, oh, well, this guy's online saying that the government's staging everything. Oh, okay. Does that mean that it leads to violence? The biggest threat to the government is that you disengage, that you shut it off, that you don't participate in the left-right paradigm, that you don't participate in their charade of a government, which is really just a corporation, that you don't pay your tax. That's what they're afraid of, okay? That you don't participate. And everybody's participating. And now the alt-right media is calling for it. Every single alt-right media show is pointing out every single Democrat on the news who's making light of Trump's ear. They're not being sensitive enough to Trump. It's unbelievable how these people don't realize they're being conformed and their behavior is being conformed, just like Larry Fink says. And they'll sit there and they'll say, no, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, yeah. All the time that has gone by since cancel culture has become a thing, just like I've said, time is their friend. They become desensitized to it, and now they're doing it themselves instead of saying, who cares what they say? Who cares? It's incredible how this whole thing is working and how it's playing out in front of us. Everybody is canceling each other out. For whose benefit? The government's benefit, right? And eventually, when they realize that Trump is not one of them or for them, that it's just globalists working together, speech is going to be removed. When he reveals that he's really the snake, these people are going to go, wait, what? And guess what? It's going to be too late for Democrats and Republicans. Realize that they're working together. This is coordinated. It is coordinated against civilians. And stop falling in love with this charade that they're putting on in front of you. It is behavioral control at its finest, yet nobody seems to realize it. It's pretty incredible. I thank everybody for being here. Jack Black, just another Satanist, folks, who's canceling himself for the benefit of the brotherhood. Absolutely incredible. Nobody sees it. Thanks again for being here, everybody. God bless all of you as always and your families.